Today, I would like to talk about our journey to Tamagui and the process, how we were choosing the styling library for our new project. I'm Alena. Please call me Alcha, and I've been a React Native developer for over 4 years. But I've been also interested in web technologies, and I try to keep up to date with new updates, new trends. Let me ask you a question. Is there any React Native developers? Developer? Raise your hand. Cool. What about web developers? Raise your hand. Wow, okay. It seems like a good mix of both. I would say 50%. That's great. I'm working at Purple Technology. And we build software, we provide infrastructure and support for brokers, mainly targeting the Japanese market. Our customers can deposit, transfer money, see their balances, they can see their trading history. And we build for free platforms, as you can see, web, Android, and iOS. Now you might be wondering why there is the React Native under Android, right? Because as you know, React Native is for Android and iOS. The question would be absolutely correct, but the explanation is very simple. Our company gave up on hiring a native developer, Java, Kotlin, so instead they hired React Native engineers, and here we are. So let me introduce you our team. It's me and Finch, we are just two. So today, when I say we, I often mean the two of us. Before we go to our journey, I would like to dive into styling and to compare the differences between web and native to make sure we are all on the same page. As you can see, or as you know, on web, you have some CSS defined in separate files, or you have your CSS inside a style tag. You would use classes and IDs, but in React Native, you would define styles in a JavaScript object, then you would pass it to the style prop. Or maybe you could write it in line to style. There is nothing like pseudo classes, as you would be used to on web. Instead, you need to use useState and pressable API. There's nothing like grid. The major layout system is Flexbox in React Native, but there are differences. For example, default values in React Native, there is the default column instead of a row. Also notice that there are no units. In React Native, the default is the density pixel. Animations in CSS, you would probably write transform, keyframes, but on React Native, you need to use animated together with useRef and do it manually. Or you could use some existing library like reanimated. Often you need to write some style to differ iOS and Android. A good example could be a really easy shadow, because only Android supports elevation, for iOS, shadow opacity, and the related properties. Despite all the differences, there are awesome libraries that you can use, which abstracts all differences for you. One of the very popular one, as you might know, is Tailwind. So there is for React Native a native wind, and you can see it looks very similar. Another great example are style components. Here you would write the template literals to define your styles. But again, very similar approach. Instead, in React Native, you have a view. On web, you are using div. There are even solutions where you can build the universal app that works for all platforms, that is compiled for Android, iOS, and web. One of the examples is React Native Web, or you can use some more modern approach like Tamagui or GlueStack. When you are choosing a library, you should decide you should think of a lot of factors. Maybe you don't need a styling library. Maybe you are doing just a small hobby project. One of the first things to decide is the type of application. If you are building app for web, Android, iOS, maybe all of them. Then the complexity. Will you use some animations or dynamic styling, customization? Maybe you can just use the default style, or will you need to override the styles and make it just custom? Then performance, you should look at the rendering speed and bundle size, developer experience, documentation, tutorials that goes together with community and ecosystem. Check out Discord, check out forums, and see how the community is active. The last but not least is team preferences, because overall it's your team who needs to enjoy working with the selected library. Our journey started in May this year. We were so thrilled because finally it will be an app for both Android and iOS. We were also considering using React Native for web for the client zone. But the differences overweighted the similarities, and we already have really skilled web developers in the company. So here we are, ready to kick things off. We had 6 months to deliver the MVP. The scope of MVP was clear. We had the designs ready, so it was time for us to choose the stack and to choose the styling library, or maybe if we even need a styling library. Firstly, we had to start with our needs. We had a very tight timeline, so we decided to leverage some existing solutions. We needed some UI kit, which we could easily customize. We needed dark mode, as you saw in Figma. And we didn't need web support. There are a lot of styling options on the market. We knew that we didn't want to use style components because we already used it in the previous project, as you saw on that second slide. And we found it very verbose, and we were just too lazy to define another file with the styles. And we needed to be faster than that. We really like unit styles. But also from the same reason, we skipped these options. We needed to be faster. Looking at UI libraries, we didn't have much experience because we've always built our own UI library. But this time we really wanted to use some existing solution. But as we didn't have much experience, we had to do some research. Raise your hand who knows the state of React Native. Raise your hand. Okay, not a lot of people. That was one of the first things we've looked into. It's an annual survey which gathers insights from React Native developers, their interests, what they're using, and it's very interesting. So we look at that. There's the styling section, and here we can see that on the first place, there is still the style sheet API. So people are still using the basic solution together with inline styling and style components. Then looking at interest or retention, we can see some rising stars like Tamagui or Unistyles. Looking at the UI libraries, there is still the big three. React Native Paper, React Native Elements, and Native Base. But again, seeing retention, Tamagui is on the first place, and also BlueStack is gaining popularity. Contrary, Native Base is dropping because of some performance issue and technical debt. So when we get back to our selection, this survey and also other factors quite shaped our opinion, and we had two candidates. Tamagui and GlueStack. Which one do you think we've chosen? GlueStack. Yes, we did. It was because we thought the Tamagui was primary for web. And we knew that GlueStack's developers are from native base, so somebody who is quite experienced and who can learn from their mistakes. So that's why. Maybe now we are thinking that you came to a wrong presentation, right? At the beginning, we really liked GlueStack. It had very beautiful UI library, easy config that you just define themes, your tokens, quite pretty easily, as you can see on the left. We like the customization. We would eject all their UI components. We would change the styles and also remove the one that we didn't need to reduce the bundle size and just to use what we needed. Unfortunately, after a few days, we hit a roadblock. At that time, Finch was working on it, and he had this PR to support themes. But unfortunately, when he was changing the theme, it was just not working. He would just change, as you can see the button, he would define primary, positive, negative, but it was not changing, not working, digging into GitHub issues. He couldn't find a solution. And even he found a lot of people complaining, a lot of other issues, which was another red flag. So after that, I tried myself. It didn't work. So we closed the PR and we were leaving GlueStack. Fortunately, we have another candidate, which was Tamagui. So I started experiment, and I was very happy. For those who don't know, the leader of the development is Nate Weiner, quite celebrity in React Native world. But there is also a very big community behind it. Thousands of contributors, thousands of stars, Discord, GitHub pages. That's how it looks. You can either define styles using the style function. Then you would write padding, border radius, or your styles. And also, as you could see for GlueStack, there are variants as well. So you could define, for example, for that button, primary button, negative, success, and so on. Or you don't have to use style, but you could just pass props. It has all the props that you can think of. So it would be equal. It also provides very beautiful UI library. The documentation is pretty clear, always with a code snapshot. It supports themes, config, it has its time design system. We also appreciate that there is the package Tamagui Lucid Icons, which we were using in the project. There are much more features, like animation support that you would just write, hover style, and it would do the animation for you. You would not need to do it manually. Then web support, media queries. And the creator was also thinking about performance. So if you're more interested, I really recommend to read his article. But it would never be a React Native development without its challenges. It just never works like works. So there were a few pain points. At the beginning, fonts were not loading, the warnings were not comprehensible for me. I didn't know where to look, what to fix. Actually, variants were again not working. Oops. And we also found some Twitter posts about variants that we are not the only one. So I thought the documentation was not as perfect as I thought at the beginning because I couldn't just figure out. And we had also some minor issues like Toast not working on iOS, but just small things. At that time, we became off track with the project. Our bosses called us complaining and wanted explanation. It was a very stressful time for us. But we fixed all the issues. We look at the code, trying to understand from the code what's going on to be able to fix it. We got rid of all variants. We were using just the props, which was perfect, which was working perfectly. And after 2 weeks, we were back on track again, and the development really boosted. It was then so fast. So I was very happy with the selection we made. Let me tell you 3 things and I appreciate the most about Tamagui. The first thing is, once you set it up, it works like a charm. All fonts, themes, colors, all tokens you define on one place. Then, when you are using any UI components, it has all the props you can think of. You just write it, then it just works. You don't need to do anything else, new files. That's together with great developer experience. I really like this layout components, as Y stack, X stack. Maybe some of you know that makes your development really fast. Even in Tamagui, you don't need to write padding horizontal. You would just write PT, PH, and so on. So just a shortcuts. Just small things, but it really helps you in development. Just to sum up, when you are choosing the library, always think of your project needs. There is no one-size-fits-all solution. Don't be afraid to experiment. It might seem all perfect at first glance, but the true quality becomes clear only when you face a real challenge. Customization and developer experience matter, and I would suggest you trying Tamagui, because I think it's worth considering if you want to build a powerful, customizable solution for React Native. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'll be here all evening, so just find me and we can talk about React Native, styling, anything. Thank you very much.